In the previous 4 editions of Dragon Ball In Depth, I took a look at the 4 major arcs of Dragon Ball Z and dissected the thematic elements of each arc. Many people were asking about the original Dragon Ball and GT and what themes were prevalent throughout those series. Well, because Dragon Ball GT essentially took a majority of the themes from the rest of the series and rehashed them, most would be pretty much the same. Dragon Ball, on the other hand, is a much tighter and a better written story overall. So on this 30th Mega Edition of Dragon Ball In Depth, I'm gonna compact the remaining themes of all of Dragon Ball. The ones that I missed from Z, and maybe a little GT too, why not?
この放送はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
One of the recurring themes Toriyama absolutely loves to play with in all his stories is the fact that looks can be deceiving and that size really doesn't matter. Even before he began working on Dragon Ball, Toriyama's Dr. Slump featured a plethora of childlike characters that were monstrously powerful. Its main character, Arale, although having the appearance of a young, helpless girl, is in fact a powerful android who can crack the earth in 2. Toriyama takes it a step further with Turbo, a baby that has telekinetic powers and is hyper-intelligent. Dragon Ball begins with Goku as a kid, and yet he spends a big chunk of the series stomping mud holes in grown men and walking them dry. When you look at Nappa and Vegeta for the first time, you'd never think that this little shrimp would be this big lug's boss. Well, he is, and a hell of a lot stronger. Toriyama plays with this idea a lot in the series. Look at Frieza. Frieza's final form certainly looks a lot less intimidating than his monstrous Ridley Scott-influenced third form or his demonic second, but we know how strong Frieza is in that last form. Also, what about Kid Buu? He looks like a little runt, but boy does he pack a punch, destroying the earth without breaking a sweat. Baby was also a little runt in GT, and he was extremely dangerous. I mean, hell, even when you look at Dragon Ball Super, the Omni King is one of the strangest looking, Pokemon-esque colorful shrimps Toriyama has ever designed, and yet he has the capability of destroying multiple universes at the blink of an eye. So remember, Dragon Ball fans, don't scoff at weird characters and assume they're weak, because chances are they're the exact opposite. From Dragon Ball to Z to GT to Super, the theme of surpassing one's own limitations is constantly being brought up, especially when it comes to our main character, Goku. Throughout the series, we see Goku grow up and take on a number of different instructors: Roshi, Karin, Kami, Kaio, and the list goes on, and he picks up something new from each one. Goku has always aimed to surpass his limitations, and really it's not just Goku, but the motivations seem to be slightly different for each character. While Goku wants to train his body so that he is always ready to fight the absolute strongest warriors of all time, Vegeta, on the other hand, has always been motivated to surpass Goku himself. Ten Shinhan seems to do it more so for personal improvement, fully aware that surpassing Goku is almost impossible at this point, and Piccolo also seems to become more fortified both mentally and physically, but of course him passing Goku seems like a pipe dream. Gohan, of course, wants to become better to protect his loved ones, a theme that has carried on to Dragon Ball Super. Just when they think they can't get any stronger, Goku and the others find something deep inside of them, deep within, and power up to unlock new and stronger forms, whether it be physical training, spiritual, mental, or sometimes even a ritual. These guys are in it to win it. And next, we discuss why. Early on in Dragon Ball, Goku wasn't even close to being the strongest known character. In fact, you could even argue that he almost never was at all in the series, except for, actually almost never. Muten Roshi entered the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai to teach his new students Goku and Kuririn a lesson. He wanted to show them to never get overconfident because there's always somebody better out there, which led to the climactic battle with Jackie Chun and Goku. Later on, in the 22nd Budokai, Goku faces off against the terrifying Ten Shinhan, who also pushed him to his limits and prevented Goku from becoming the champion under the heavens. Some poser fans think that Goku always wins, which is complete nonsense. Goku loses a lot and often has to lick his wounds, train, and mount a counterattack. Goku was kind of like LeBron James in Dragon Ball. Tons of potential, but his first 2 chances at the championship, he made it to the finals and fell short. And then finally, in his 3rd chance, he got it. And that's pretty much where the similarities between those two end. This theme, of course, continued into Dragon Ball Z when Goku was tested against the likes of Raditz, Vegeta, and Frieza, all of which were not from Earth and thus opened up a whole new world of challengers for Goku to train against. There's always someone better, even out in the stars. Fast forward to Battle of Gods. Before the movie came out, most people probably assumed it would go like all the previous Dragon Ball Z movies, with Goku beating Lord Beerus at the end of the film with some kind of technique or power or something. But no, in this movie, Beerus was too much for Goku. This theme is always prevalent in the series, and although sometimes I feel the characters get out of it in a contrived and somewhat lazy way, like in the original 13 DBZ movies, it's still something they get out of, and Battle of Gods flipped it, which I really enjoyed about that film. The way it stands right now in Dragon Ball Super, Goku has tons of guys who he can't even hold a candle to. Beerus, Whis, Vados, Champa, and of course the Omni King. Will Goku ever surpass these beings? I guess we'll find out when all's said and done. Team-ups between villains and heroes have always worked in American comics and in general storytelling, so seeing Goku teaming up with his rival Piccolo to fight Raditz, or Vegeta joining forces with the good guys to take on Frieza, is always cool. One of the things Dragon Ball did very effectively, that's a recurring theme over and over again, is redeeming villains and rivals. Ten Shinhan was the first to really go through a true character moment of clarity, if you will, back in Dragon Ball. You could argue that earlier in the series, Yamcha was a desert bandit, but he was never really an evil guy and was played up more so for laughs than anything else. Ten Shinhan is introduced as one bad dude, a guy who idolized the assassin Tao Pai Pai and whom, in the first round of the tournament, hospitalized an already beaten Yamcha. By the end of the tournament, after some motivational words from Roshi and some real dick moves from his old master Suru Senin, Ten Shinhan changes his ways and chooses to fight for himself like Ivan Drago. Then, of course, we move on to Piccolo, whom was the son and reincarnation of the Demon King, thirsty for revenge on Goku for defeating his father, eventually establishing a deep emotional bond with Goku's son, which would lead to a legitimately strong friendship climaxed in Piccolo sacrificing his life for the boy, the ultimate sign of a changed man. During his death, he even joked about how ridiculous it was that the Demon King, who wanted to rule the world, gave up his life for just a boy. Since then, Piccolo has been on the good side. Then, of course, there's Vegeta and Majin Buu's redemptions, which I covered much more thoroughly in the previous Dragon Ball in-depth video about the themes of the Buu arc. In my opinion, the Vegeta redemption was the most powerful, not only because the arc took up a huge chunk of the Dragon Ball Z series, but also because his sacrifice, as well as the decisions that he made prior to the sacrifice, were the most intriguing. Even going into Dragon Ball Super, Goku's fighting spirit inspired Lord Beerus to have a change of heart and not destroy Earth. This point was driven home stronger in the movie than in the arc, but nonetheless it was there. Furthermore, even the legendary assassin Hit had somewhat of a change of heart after running into Goku. Goku has a way of making friends out of enemies because of his indomitable spirit and forgiving nature. Maybe we, in the real world, should take note of this, and maybe we can learn something from this guy. The final theme I want to touch on here is the fact that a big chunk of Dragon Ball stories revolve around the passing of the torch to the next generation. From Dragon Ball all the way to GT, this is something constantly explored by Toriyama and the other writers. During the fight between Muten Roshi and Ten Shinhan in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, the reigning champion of the world Muten Roshi eliminates himself to the shock and awe of the audience. We later find out that in his mind, Roshi realized that the future of martial arts was not with him despite his amazing power. The future was about the youth, Goku, Ten Shinhan, Kuririn, and others. Roshi came to terms with the fact that the next generation needed to be established and that it was time he went into quasi-retirement. This inspirational move touched Ten Shinhan and helped him change his aspirations and goals from being an assassin or a mercenary to being just the best martial artist he could be. Roshi firmly passed the torch to Goku and Ten Shinhan right before the arrival of Piccolo Daimao. The Dragon Ball anime ended with Goku defeating Piccolo Daimao, then having back-to-back victories over Ten Shinhan and Piccolo Jr. in the tournament, cementing himself as the strongest in the world, and finally getting that torch. But when Dragon Ball Z started, a huge focus of the story was placed on Goku's son Gohan, and the possibility of him possibly being the next top dog in the series. Even though we saw flashes of brilliance throughout the series, it wasn't until the Cell games that the series took that turn when Gohan ascended, Goku died and chose to stay dead, and Gohan was firmly placed as the series' main protagonist. Goku's training of Gohan and his surrender against Cell and choosing Gohan to fight Cell was his symbolic passing of the torch. Then, during the Majin Buu arc, Goku presumes that Gohan is dead and decides that the torch should be passed to the youngest generation, Goten and Trunks, teaching them the fusion pose and putting the future of Earth in their hands. But of course, by the end of the series, that wouldn't really matter as Goku, along with everybody who donated energy, would ultimately finish off Majin Buu. It's almost as if Goku passed the torch to the entire population of Earth. Also, please, don't believe the myth that Toriyama chose to give up on Gohan because of fan outcry. It's a completely made up rumor from the 90s that so many fans seem to believe to this day, but has never once been stated in any authentic Toriyama interview. It's probably just salty Gohan fans wanting to make excuses. Toriyama chose Goku to be the top dog again because he thought Gohan wasn't fit for it. That's pretty much how it went. But let's go past that. At the end of the Dragon Ball manga and the Dragon Ball Z anime, Goku flies off with Oob, the reincarnation of Majin Buu and the guy who Goku sees as the future of martial arts. Did Goku intend on legitimately training Oob to be the best and surpass him in preparation for the day that Goku would die? Or did he just want a tough opponent to face? Who knows, but the concept of passing the torch is still there. Even though the story of Dragon Ball GT is not from the mind of Toriyama, the theme continues onward as most of the series seems to telegraph that Pan may end up being the future hero, but we never really see her hit that milestone. But at the very end of Dragon Ball GT, the torch is somewhat passed as we see Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. fighting in the tournament, telling the audience that no matter what, there will always be a hero there to fight, and the lineage of Goku and even Vegeta will continue onward. Are there any big themes that I missed? If so, let me know. I hope you enjoyed Dragon Ball In-Depth 30, and I hope you spread the video out and subscribe if you haven't. With this and the past 4 videos, I feel I've proven that Dragon Ball is much, much more than just fights and cool hair. It's pretty damn deep, and there's a whole lot more to come in the future. I'll catch all of you down the road.
I've come back from the future to warn you that if you don't subscribe to Geekdom 101, your future is grim.